Sikha we will be learning is the Sikha Chelik Chayei, the second Sikha to Parshas Chayei Sora. Now it's interesting. This Sikha is be'etzem a Rasha Sikha, and we know what a Rasha Sikha means. And the Rebbe quotes a Rasha and asks a lot of questions and answers them, and all based on derech hapshat, that it fits to the derech of Rasha, the way, the style of Rasha, that he's explaining everything according to simple pshat. Sometimes the Rebbe would also speak a Rasha, which we used to call, when the Rebbe would speak such a Rasha, we would call it the not Rasha. In other words, the Rebbe would say that there's a certain posik that the Rasha should have said something, and he doesn't. So let's understand why Rasha didn't say it. So Mistama Rasha holds that you don't have to say anything. And the Rebbe went to the klal many times that the reason Rasha didn't say it is because in Derech HaPshat it's not a kasha. Or because if you remember what Rasha told you before, then you would understand it yourself. But it's only if you remember what Rasha told you before. If it's connected to Rasha, that's going to say someplace later that Ben Chomish Lamikr, the one that's starting to learn Chumash, didn't learn it yet. So when you have a posik and there's a kasha on the posik in simple pshat, and we know Rasha came to answer every single kasha that's there in Derech HaPshat. And if Rasha doesn't say anything, that means Rasha holds that in Derech HaPshat there is no kasha. How do we know that? Because certain places Rasha says, I don't know. There's a kasha and doesn't have an answer. Now, if Rasha, to begin with, is not trying to answer every kasha, so let him skip it. Why does he have to mention, I don't know? That means that every other place Rasha does know, so to speak, and those few places he doesn't have an answer in Derech HaPshat, he writes, I don't know. So therefore, if Rasha doesn't ask a certain kasha and then give an answer, and it seems like it's a simple kasha in Derech HaPshat, we must figure out what Rasha thought, why he didn't have to ask it and answer it, because it's self-understood for one of these reasons that we said. So we'll start like this. In Haitik is said there by the Tzelt, Avram Avinu hat angesagt Eliezer Avnei. In this week's parsha we learn how Avram Avinu told Eliezer, his servant, this is what he said to him: El artzi vel moladeti Taylor, go to my land, to my birthplace, v'lakachta isha livni Yitzchok, and take a wife for my son Yitzchok. And Shailis Eliezer, and on the question that Eliezer asked, Ulay liseva isha lelechas achrei eloras hazeis ha'oshev has been chugemer, and he asked if the woman will not want to come to this land, should I take your son there to that land? But Avram answered, Hishomer l'chop and toshiv. Be careful, don't take him back. But Hashem, etc., Yishlach malochi lefonecha v'lekachti shlivni misham. That Hashem will send his malach in front of you, and you will get a wife from there for my son that will want to come back. Weiter in the Seder, later in the Seder, was wird erzählt, wie Eliezer hat Psuel und übergesagt direkt von Avram und zu ihm. Later in the Parsha we find that Eliezer, when he spoke to Psuel, the father of Rivke, and he told him the whole story, and he told him what Avram told him when he sent him. State, this is what the Pasuk says. Vayemer, Eliezer is saying to Psuel, and he said, who's the he? Avram said, they lied to me, that Hashem Asher, the Eibishter, etc., Yishlach Malocha Itcho, he will send his Malach with you. V'yisliach darkecha, he will make your journey, he will make it successful. And you will take a wife for my son, for my family. We have to understand. Why did Eliezer change from the words of Avram, that when he told over to them what Avram said, he didn't say exactly as Avram said. Instead of Avram saying to him the way he did, that Hashem will send the malach ahead of you, he will send the malach with you. This is actually a kasha that Rebbe says in Orah 6 from the Alshich, and he gives a remes, but not on Derech HaPshat, and we are here talking on Derech HaPshat. So the question is, this is a shayla that comes up in Pshat. Why did he changed the words from what Avram told him? Now, at first glance, we could answer that it doesn't make a big difference. It's just an expression. So Rebbe says, you can't answer, das is nicht mehr wie Hashina in Loshen, it's only a change in expression, in words. Was beit nicht dem Teichen, it doesn't change the contents of what he's saying. Und wie man sieht das in die Psukim, seine doch kaum schon in Loshen, Eliezer, wie hat gesagt, diver Avram, aber diver Avram atzmei. We find other things, many differences in expressions in words that Eliezer, when he repeated what Avram said, he didn't use the exact words of Avram. And as the Rebbe brings in order 7, that Adaktak writes, that when Eliezer repeated what Avram told him, there are different words. The reason, the Nakuda is the same, the point is the same. So Mele, same thing. Avram said, Hashem will send a malach lefanecha in front of you, ahead of you. And he used the word, will send a malach with you. But you can't say that here. Because in the Sedre before, is Rashi bepelusha la Teira stellt sich auf ein ähnlichen Shinui. Rashi in his commentary comments on that change und erklärt ihm in Mavayir and explains what the change means, why and there's the same words. And then Rashi makes a fuss over it. The Pasuk says in the beginning of Noach, that Noach was going with S. The Eibishter, he went with him. S with. So Rashi says, by Noach it says the word Es holikim is halach Noach. By Avram Rashi is chalachti lefonov. By Avram it says that I went ahead of him. And Rashi says, what's the difference? Noach needed something to lean on. So therefore he said Es with. So the word Es means with. But Avram, the Eibishter went ahead of him, so to speak, and he did not have to have the help of the Eibishter. From that Rashi we see the shinui von es and lefonov is achiluk and teichen. The difference whether it says es or lefonov, because there it's exactly es and lefonov. It's a difference in the teichen, in the context of it's saying, was for the tapir shechol derech hapshat, which needs an answer, which needs an explanation, derech hapshat. Easily fisa and it moves. It's not understood. For what tells sich mit Rashi but Parsha Seina. So why in our Parsha Rashi doesn't comment if the Shinui zwischen lefanecha and itcha and the change that Avram said Eibush will send the malach in front of you, and here he said itcha, which is from the same word as es, and Rashi doesn't ask it as if there is no problem here. But how come over there he does make a fuss? The Rebbe says that. Not only Derech Hapshat, Rashi doesn't say anything. The Barbanel, which asks many kashas here, doesn't even ask this kasha. Muss man sagen, der Rebbe says, we must say, as Norden wir Rashi Shefri and Mevair given them Chile zwischen the zwei Nishenes and them Tama Shinui. After Rashi already explained the difference between these two explanations and expressions and why there is the expressions were changed. He's learning them super. So after we know what Rashi says there, then we learn what it says by us. Shemuf mi'elav the town for us Eliezer that Mishanik went from Dibur Avram. We'll understand ourselves why Eliezer changed in Avram. And as I mentioned before, that the Rebbe learned all the siches that if Rashi wrote something once, he doesn't have to rewrite it, and it's self-understood. So therefore, if we learn that, we remember that Rashi there, so we already know the difference between es, or in this case would be the same idea as itcha, and the fonov. So Rashi doesn't have to tell us, he relies that we'll remember. So let's see, what does Rashi say over there as an explanation of the difference that will also explain it by us. The Schleimer Rabbi and them, we could say the pshat like this, the difference in the translation and the meaning, whether it says itcha with you or lefanecha in front of you, is pshutum kemashmo. It's very, very simple, exactly as the words mean. Itcha meant mit dir. Itcha means with you. Lefanecha, what does lefanecha mean? Far dir, before you, ahead of you. It says yishlach malach itcha meant that Hashem will send him malach with you, means that the malach wird gehen zusammen mit Eliezer, and the malach will go together with Eliezer, und ihm helfen durchführen die Shlichus behatzloche, and help him to accomplish, to fulfill his mission successfully. Like Rashi says by Neach, what did the word mean? He needs a help. The Eibishter is with him, needs a help. So here also it means the Eibishter is saying to him that the Malach will help you. When the expression that Avram said, the Eibishter will send his Malach ahead of you, means that the Malach would gain 4 ruis, that the Malach will go ahead and he will make sure that the shlichus of Eliezer will be successful. That's big difference in what you do and what kind of success you have. In the Meshner file is that in the first case is that the main thing it means when it says es, the pulas hashtadlish mitzad Eliezer, That means Eliezer has to do things. Nor the Malach, but the Malach will be with him, and like it says by Noach, there's something to lean on that he helped Noach. Here also, the Malach will help you. You should be matzliach in what you are mishtadel to do, what you are trying to do. But if you say he will send his Malach ahead of you, means that the Malach wird nicht nur Messiah sein to them in the Ishtadlis. Not only will you help in to and in his Ishtadlis that he's doing, nor great Zitzu versichert die Atzlocha von Ishtadlis Eliezer von Forus. This means that he prepares ahead of time and he makes sure that he will be matzliach in the shlichus. So whatever he's going to do is guaranteed that the shlichus is already ahead. So when you're together with you, it means the malach is going to help you. Whatever you do is important and that counts and that's what's going to consider. But you need help. But this means that the malach goes ahead of you and you don't have to come out. It's something besides the malach. The malach is ahead and he's not helping you. He guarantees it's going to happen. That's what Avram meant when he used the lotion. He will send his malach ahead of you. That the way the shlichus, the success of the shlichus is made in such a way that the Eibishter made sure in the beginning this thing that they're trying to do should happen properly, without any hardships. That's how it was. That in the case was the way Avram said, Malach went ahead, but whatever he did, the Malach was, the Malach, he means Mitzad Hashem. When he refers to the Malach, already made it accomplish ahead of time. Where do we see it? That's how it was. Sideline by money from Halach, sign the beginning of when the things started moving from the process. When Eliezer came to Aram Naraim and he came to the well, but Eliezer didn't have to wait a second. As he came over, Rivka was right there. It didn't even come as a result of Eliezer davening, saying today, please make sure that it's going to happen, etc., etc. It wasn't when he was finished davening that he finished already davening. Everything was there. So then not even that happened. From the Posuk says, before he finished davening, Rivka went out, which means noch eder or for ending that tefillah, before he finishes tefillah. And order 15 Rebbe says, what does Terah, Rashi and Chumash says, what does Terah mean? Adlei, before it happened. Es im Lechatchila, even ausgestellt Milmaila, es ist Okum, bald noch Eliezer's Onkum. Eibishter already made it, Min HaShamayim, Milmaila, as she should come right after Eliezer comes. Now, that's inside the beginning of the way things went, that we see that Eibishter made it happen already before anything. That's inside the Mahalach and Yonim. Side mitzad Eliezer, also from Eliezer's side, was Rashi Zok, like Rashi had Kofta Leor, it said Kvitz Saderech. In other words, a long trip took him much shorter. The expression means the road jumped ahead. So when he's going, he was already ahead. It went much faster. So that's with Eliezer. It's something that he didn't do. That's something that the Milmaila they did. Also as when she left the house, for sure Eliezer didn't finish. It took her probably some time till left the house till she got to the well. When she got to the well, that's when Eliezer came. That means she left the house to be there even before Eliezer came. And Bemis, she could have come earlier because everything happened before. Lepeil Mamish, the Rebbe waited for Rivka to come till it was right by the end of davening. Why did he wait even for that? He given the Rebbe says maybe nor zu dem as durch dem Simme was sich angezogen mit Philosse soll kennen wissen as hier ich that he should, for his purpose, if she would be there from before and he'd come, he wouldn't see any simon. He made a simon that to see what's going to happen. So the Eibush especially, she could have come before. But he made it, they should happen at the end of his davening, that's when she came, that he should see it's connected to his mission. But the thing that she came there was already clear before he even started davening, because she left the house much more before he started davening. I know it took her a half hour, 10 minutes, whatever it took her, but that he didn't daven for that long. So she left even before. The Eibishter just made that he should see the connection. That's why the Eibishter made that it should turn out that she comes when he finishes davening. You see from the beginning and connected to Eliezer, to Rivke, everything happened without him, without Eliezer actually. Same thing in the middle of the thing. Psula wanted to stop this shidduch. He's bought Malach B'Misa. Rashi said the Malach came and he killed him. So it's again something is out of the control of Eliezer. At the end, when Eliezer had gewollt, as Rivke gleich gehen mit ihm. When Eliezer wanted Rivka should come right away with him, not like her brother and her mother were claiming that they should wait, they should stay for some time before she goes. And he wanted she go right away. What happened? Is the roof given the rent for Nikra night of Nishal? The answer he gave is, okay, let's call the girl and let's see what she says. She herself, right away on the spot. She didn't think much. On the spot, she said, yes, I'm going. The Rebbe says, first glance, we don't find that Eliezer Bechlal spoke to her about the shidduch. Not the chat. That she had time to think about it from before. Mele, when he came to ask her, you want to go? She already thought about it and came to a decision. He never spoke to her about it before. And the Rebbe says in Ha'ora, because the Pashtes, when Eliezer was speaking to Psuel the first time when he came to them, she wasn't there. The best raya is the second time when they spoke and they said, let them go now. They said, let's call the girl and ask. That means that she was not part of the conversation. And it's simple understood that when you talk about such an important thing, you'll not call a little girl of 3 years old. Okay, she was about das, she had seichel, but nevertheless, it's not simple to have a little girl part of the conversation. And something about leaving the house. And when they started speaking, after he told them, when he started telling them the story and the conversation started, they even had no idea we're talking about Rivke. They came, and then he started talking. They didn't know about Rivke. Anyway, so Rivke was not part of it. Nevertheless, he answered on the spot, I'm going. And Thomas from Tachshitim says in Chumash that he gave her presents. And Rebbe says in Orah 24, that just because he gave her presents, someone might say, well, she got presents, so that's why she agreed. Makes no sense that just because she got a present from a strange person, she will decide to go with a strange person against the will of her brother and her father, and her mother, I mean. All he gave her was matonis from tachshitim, from jewelry. So it can't say that was, so that's all this. And since she was not part of the discussion, so there was no time that she was able to think about it because she wasn't there before. All that gave her presents and there's nothing to do with the shidduch, and she didn't know about it. Nafa became still gleich by them beim Fragen that she's masking with shidduch. Nevertheless, as soon as they asked her, "Are you masking? You agree?" What she gesagt, "Eilich," I said, "Yes, I'll go." Und wie Rashi is meisiv, when my father Rashi adds and explains, "Eilich meyatzmi," I'll go myself. If you don't want. Das heißt, that means the Eibishter has gemacht. That means the Eibishter made so. As he so masculine sein, onke in the Stadlis inside Eliezer, that she should agree without anything Eliezer had to do to convince her to talk to her. It happened all Mamaila. And the Rebbe in Order 26, the Rebbe says that this Tosfos, Hadar Skenim, Tosfos and Chumash, asked the Shaila, how did the Rivka go without the permission of her brother and her mother? A child doesn't give cover to the parents. It doesn't say these words. A prutz or something that's not really serious will do such a thing. How did Rivka do it? The answer is it's not Rivka, it's Min HaShamayim. She did it because Min HaShamayim they made it like that. And the Rebbe Order 27 says we see another thing. When she left already and she came and they got to the place where Avram was, the Eibishter made it that as soon as they came, Yitzchok was right there. It said, she saw him. And it didn't say she came, and then she waited, and Yitzchak came. It all happened without derech hateva. It happened all in Hashemayim. So now we have an answer, not an answer, an explanation. That what did he mean when he said the Eibishter was on his malach lefonecho, ahead of you? That's what he said. Everything is going to happen ahead of time. Now, according to this, we'll understand why Eliezer, when he told over these words, he changed. Aber sie wird nicht verstehen, was Eliezer hat mich angegeben von Divrei Avrom und gesagt, ich malach itoch. And this will explain why Eliezer changed when he repeated what Avram said. He didn't say that Avram told me the Eibishter will send a malach ahead of you. He said the malach with you. If he would tell Psuel, and he would say this, that he said that the malach will come ahead, which means he'll do everything without nothing to do with us. It's going to happen because the malach is ahead. Psuel will never accept it. Eliezer gerät mit Psuel und gewollt haben von ihm sein Askommen mit Shidduch, when Eliezer spoke to Psuel and wanted his agreement to the Shidduch. Hat kein Ordnung zu erzählen, als Avram hat gesagt, ich komme noch lefanecha. Makes no sense. There's no place for Eliezer to tell Psuel what Avram said, that the Malach will come ahead of you. Which means, was Badait cannot let means, as I said before, die Sache wird abgetan werden, keinem noch kein Pfarrer Eliezer kommen in seine Stadlos. That means that Bam is going to happen without what Eliezer doing anything, before he even comes. Make no sense to say that. Because if he'd say that, well, Psuel would have said, so was the ganze Rede Masse mit him? Why should I even discuss with him? Why should I have a whole discussion about going? Lied Varecha, he would tell us, according to you, the Malach should not stop. The Malach did everything. He said he'll send the Malach and he'll do everything. Makes no sense he should tell him that. The Rebbe Eliezer muss mishana sein, so Eliezer had to change. Und sagen, Gishlach Malach itrof. So you had to say he'll send the Malach with you. It's not going to happen by itself. You got to do, and we had to discuss it and everything. But he said, the Malach will be there to help you. It should have. Another change. Before was a change between what Avram said and the way Eliezer repeated Avram's words to Psuel. Now it's another thing. Eliezer said something to Psuel, which is not the way it really happened. What was it? We all know the He gave the jewelry, and gave him the noseband or whatever, and the other thing, before he even asked, who are you? That's what happened. Beim Erzählen wegen dem zu Psuel, but when he told this happened, when he told this to Psuel, is wie Rasha sagt, so Rasha says, Shina Seder. He changed the order. He said, first I asked her who she is, and then I gave her the jewelry. The reason was, they shouldn't catch him by a word. They said, how do you give her if you don't know who she is? You came here for a shidduch. You didn't know who she's. Maybe she's not from the family of Avram. Wanted she should be from the family of Avram. You didn't know how to do it, so you had to change. So here we see there's a change, and the reason was that they shouldn't grab him by a word. But the question is, Rebbe doesn't like the question. How did he do it? How did he do it? Give it to her before he knew. So the answer is, das was Eliezer gegeben Rivkin im Matones nach Cheder gewusst mich. The fact they gave her the present before knowing who she is weil wissendig, als Avram hat gesagt, he knew, knowing that Avram said, the Eibishter will send the Malach ahead of you. Especially when you saw already before he even finished davening, Rivka came. So that shows right away that even before he's doing anything, that means that what Avram said, the Malach will go ahead, is actually happening. And he made a simon. If I ask her to give me to drink, she'll say, I'll give you animals too. And that's exactly what happened. So he saw everything taking place in such a way which is not really dependent on his ishtadlis. So he understood that all this is happening because, like Avram said, the Malach came ahead and made sure everything can happen. That's why he was sure that Eibishter gave him Atzloche. But according to the way he said to Psuel, when he didn't tell Psuel that the Malach will go ahead and do everything before we even do. He said the Malach will be with you to help him. So he couldn't say, well, I'm so sure that she is the one. That's why I gave her before I knew she was. How do you know? Maybe he won't be. Eliezer himself knew because he knew Avram told him the Malach will go ahead. But when he told him, Malach, I'm with you, that's why he had to change. So he knew that if he said, since he said the Malach will come with you, he's not so sure. Not so sure that he should give her the presents before knowing who she is. Therefore, Shina HaSeder, therefore, as Rashi says, he changed the order. They shouldn't catch him by his words. How did he give? So here we see also that change also is connected to the fact that Avram said Lefanecha, A malach, that's why he was able to give right away, while when he said itcha to them, he couldn't tell them that he gave right away. But then there's a kasha here, in the order 25, the Rebbe asks, but after all, Eliezer seemingly didn't say the truth. He had a good reason why he changed the words the way Avram said. But he quoted Avram falsely. So the Rebbe says, you can't say how you could say something he didn't say. Because besides the fact that Rashi gives us a place, that here there was a place to change in order they shouldn't catch him. So just like he changed over there. So it means that he has a right to do it, so things should work out. Never, the Rebbe says, here it's even more. Here it wasn't even the change. He didn't lie. Because when he said the Malach will come ahead, doesn't that include the Malach will be with you? When you say the Malach will be ahead, means he's with you. Plus, Elamai, he didn't tell him the whole truth. He didn't tell him the whole thing. So he didn't lie to him, didn't say something against what happened. It happened, the Malach came along. But in addition to that, he was ahead, and that he didn't have to tell. But based on what the Rebbe says a little later, this is the kasha that how this is possible. He didn't say the truth is answered even better, as we will see soon. What does the Rebbe say? Where do we see it? Even though Begilui, the way it seems, he did not tell him the truth, that Avram said that the Malach will go ahead of you. But he didn't say it outright, but he hinted it to them. The fact that he changed, seemingly not saying the truth, is much less, because he did say, besides what we said before, what he said, since he added a few words, that made it that it includes the idea that it'll be lefanech, even though it's not clear outright, so they shouldn't chap. Where do we see it? The mitzvah said, he said, he added a few words that Avram said, the said the malach with you. No, he told them, malach with, not the words of Avram, the words of by Avram didn't say it, but when Eliezer said this to Suel, he said that Avram said that he will send his malach with you, and he will be matzliach your way. Avram didn't say. We don't find clear. Avram added the words that you will be matzliach. When he gave over, repeated his davening, got the mesa given alosh and tefillah, he added things that he did not say in his davening. What did he add? Hashem, im yesh chono matzliach darki. If you will be matzliach my derech. What's the purpose? What's the purpose of adding these words that give me atzloch? We're saying Hashem will be with you and help you. What do you mean? He'll give you atzloch. So the beer and the explanation is like this: the real meaning of success is not when they mention matzliach durch Yigia. It's not when a person works hard and he's successful. But when the Reibish to dimension was the Reibish to dimension. The real success is when beyond, not because of what you worked. When the Reibish to gives you something out, just from something that you didn't work for at all. That's called atzlocha. Al derech v'shteit by Yosef. It says by Yosef when he was by Potiphar in the house. He Hashem as Yosef. He ish matzliach. Hashem was with Yosef, and he was a person who was matzliach. So we see that atzlocha is when Eibush is with you. It's something that Eibush does. And Yosef posik says Hashem matzliach by Yodi. Hashem was matzliach. Hashem was matzliach by the hand of Yosef. Then it says v'asher roese Hashem matzliach. Whatever you did, the Eibush was matzliach. Al derech zot Eliezer matzliach and Hashem matzliach dark. Eliezer also Hashem was matzliach. What's so dinyan of matzlocha means something that's beyond the work of a person. He says, there's an expression that says, Yugaiti, what says, if you say, I worked hard and I found, you could be believed, because it's true. If you work hard, you'll find. Now, the lotion is, you'll work hard, you'll find. Now, finding is like a mitzvah. Okay, you find a lost object. The pshat there is not only you'll work hard, you'll find according to what you worked. Then it's not finding. You worked and you claimed it, you got it. Here it's not like that. Here it says lotion of a mitzvah. Now by a mitzvah, it should not. It's much more than what you worked for. So it means, why do we use the lotion? You got the mitzvah and lotion mitzvah. Al derech v'amitzvah was kumbli ishtadlis. Just like a mitzvah comes without your working for it, you do have to put some effort in picking it up, but otherwise not. But what we're saying here, atzlocha, is even more than that. Meaning, Von deswegen is der Yugaiti Mamshich Machriach the Mitzvah. When you say Yugaiti Mitzvah, I worked hard, so that brings, it says, if a person works very hard, the Eibusher will give him something beyond his work. But there has to be some work. Schenke der Ringe von Atzlocha Amit is the real Atzlocha, the real success is nicht verbunden mit Avodas Odom. There is a Matonim Al-Maila. It's when you get something which is not based on your work, but it comes from Hashem. Hashem. So it comes out at Yasof, Yishlach Malach Yitcho. It's Liad HaKecha that when he said, the Eibishter will send his Malach with you, but he added the words, and you will be Matzliach. So those words are trocked in sich demselben Teichen wie Yishlach Malach Elefanecha. That contains the same meaning, in a hinted way, to what the word Yishlach Malach Elefanecha means. It'll come ahead of you. What does it mean to come ahead of you? So we explained the whole time that it's not up to you. It's already done from the Eibishter before. Something that came from the Eibishter. That's the same thing as Hatzlocha. But the Rinja from Hatzlocha is when the Skum b'derech matonam l'maylo. Hatzlocha is when it comes from as a present from Hashem. The Farbish has Eliezer at Aruz gebrach Farbsul in the Azeza and Tfilah is im yesh chonom hatzliach darki is nismala geworden. When he told him that my Tfilah was successful, and he said my Tfilah was, please Hashem make me matzliach, be matzliach me. And then he also told him, he also told him the fact that before I finished davening, Rivka came already. We see when he heard that, he said, Hashem something comes from Hashem. I can't talk to you, I can't say anything, bad or good. So he realized as Azach tut sich up in ganzem Malmaila, something that's completely Malmaila, b'derech hatzlocha, and is successful with hatzlocha, like a person can't change. No one could change it. That's how it's going to happen. So really, he didn't say the word Hashem will send a malach in front of me, which would mean that it's going to happen from Hashemayim, no matter what I do. But he hinted. He said, this is Hatzlocha, which comes from Hashem. And B'shul realized it. B'shul said, Hashem Yotzav Adova, you're telling me something that came from Hashem. But that only happened later. The Shas, he told him in the beginning, had he said Avram said that the malach is going to come ahead, he wouldn't even talk to him. So what I've talked to you about, you said already everything's happened, but now he did talk to him already. And then now he said Hatzlocha, so now he can realize that this is something that came from above. This will also explain a strange thing in the words of Avram. When Eliezer asked, what happens if the woman does not want to follow me to come here? Avram answered him, be careful, don't take him there. Hashem Elokei Hashemayim, the Eibishter is the God of the heavens. Yishlach malach lefanecha, he will send a malach ahead of you. And you will take a wife for my son from there. Which means the Eibishter of Chikan HaMalach, the Eibishter will send a malach, but Meile is a maftiach, and he promised him. And you will take, he said, this is going to happen. He's not verstandig. Not understood. Wie kann Avram versichern Eliezer lekachta isha libni misham? How could he guarantee him that you'll be able to get a wife from there? Depends on the will and the choice of the woman. Avram himself continued and said, if she doesn't really want follow you, the Kisa Mishra says, then you're clean from my shvur. Which means Avram said it is dependent on her. He agreed it's dependent on her. And nevertheless, he said, in theory, it depends on the woman. Mainly in theory, if the woman will not want to come and there's no other choice, you're free from the shvur, you're clean. But Lapeli did tell him that Hashem will send a malach ahead of you and you will find this woman. But how could he say that? What about free choice? She has free choice. That's the whole idea here. A new thing, new aspect, a new angle in looking what it meant when he said Hashem will send a malach ahead of you. As das nimmt sich von dieser Ort, was ist früher Hecher von Giesod, it doesn't mean only ahead of you. This, what's going to happen will come from such a high madrege, which is ahead of you. It's before you. It's higher than whatever you as a human being can do. Whatever your Aveda could be, it won't help. But the Father, the Atzloch in them, von the Eibish nit tluya in the Stadlos Maase b'nei Adam. Therefore, this is a situation that doesn't depend on the people. This comes from such a high madrege that it's not dependent on anybody. It's not dependent on what people do. On the other hand, also, that the will of a person cannot stop this, cannot contradict this. So therefore, And the Rebbe, therefore, Alpha PS is do the Ringen Abchira, even though there is choice and the women could choose not to come. But the father do the Chure, the Meglachkeit from Melisei Isha. That's what Avram said. There's a possibility she won't want to come. That means there is Bchira. Im calls still is over Borur. It's clear, he said, that the pale, but the on the Ringen from the Kachti shall be Mishom, that the pale you will get her. I'm telling, guarantee you, that there will be a woman that will choose to come along. So this is another teaching, the Malach Lefanecha, now such a high madrege, that nothing of a human being's action could make it or break it. Yeshlemer, das eine von the Biurim, you could say that this is one of the explanations in the Maimon Chazal, in the statement of Chazal. Yofes Echosan Shalav the Ovis, Mitrosa Shalbonim. That talk, plain talk, of the servants of the Ovis, like in our case, the servant of Avram Eliezer, is greater than the Torah of the children of the Eden. Poship Pshat in that Maimon Chazal is, we see that concerning the story with Eliezer, Eved Avram, so many psukim about it. The Torah repeats many things in the whole conversation twice. And when it comes to Torah of a Yid, sometimes many halachas are learned out from one letter. So there's a mile we see in the Sichoson. Sichoson is the plain talk of the servants of the Ovis, more even the Torah Bonim. But here the Rebbe teaches a new teach. A new pshat, in which way it's greater. When we talk about the Torah of the Eden, there's a rule, everything comes from the Eibishter besides Yerushalayim. Anything has to do with Yerushalayim, Torah mitzvahs, it's not up to the Eibishter. When it comes to Torah mitzvahs, the free choice is not taken away from a Yid. But when this case of Eliezer, the shlichus of Eliezer, it was in a way that the Eibishter sent a malach ahead in a nation from the tzliach darkecha that you should be matzliach. What's hatzlochik? Hatzlochik, verzichert no mailo. That tzlocha was guaranteed from above. I feel a dort for the spirit on the bchira, even if it's a place of bchira. While yof avde ovis, because the avde ovis are so great that they reach such a high level, which is higher than bchira. And that's what they said. That's one of the deeper pshatim in what happened here with the avde ovis is greater than Torah, because Torah is called dependent on bchira. And by the avde ovis, there's something that reached such a high level higher from bchira. But there are two conditions here. Number one, it could only happen by somebody who is in the category of Eved, a servant. Eved really doesn't mean a servant, it means a slave of the Ovis. An Eved was his nitke mitziz b'fnei atzmi, an Eved which is not an entity on its own. And the Rebbe explains, doesn't mean there's no entity here. It is erhot ha-mitzias. He is a mitzias. And he does things, he could even do great things. But whatever he is and accomplishes, is nothing but the master. Because Mashakon Eved, Kon Rabbi, what the master is Kaina, whatever a servant, a slave owns, his master really owns. So his Metzias is Deibishter. He does great things, he does a Metzias. But he feels that his Metzias is nothing but as being an Eved to Deibishter. That's one condition when this could work. Und dazu darf sein der Ingen HaSicha. You have to have the Sicha. What's Sicha? So the Gemara says, Ein Sicha Elet Tefillah. Sicha refers to davening. That means the akora berura, you have to, when do you have such a success and reach such a thing? If you really 100% recognize, you can't rely on your own keches, you have to daven to the Eibishter. By having this bittul, that you feel you're an Eved, and you realize everything's in the Eibishter, that's the sicha. Is memakela to that anhoga yishlach malach lefanech v'lekachta b'derech hatzlacha. Then you're a kela that the Eibishter could do that. That whatever you have to accomplish, the Eibishter will make it happen from such a high, in a form of hatzlacha that you wouldn't even have to do it. Then the Rebbe adds, Alpha Pesachos Shlav Dovas is hecher from Terasa Shalbon. Even though we just explained that the sicha, the talk of the Eliezer is higher than the Torah of the Yidden, of the children, is aber eich sichos Shlav Dovas are eingestellt in Terasa Shalbonim. But what do we learn about what the Avdiyah spoke? Was put into the Torah of the Yidden, of the children. It's a parsha shleima b'teirosan. It's a full parsha in their Torah, in the Torah of the Yidden. What does that mean? But der fun guf is verstandig, from that we understand as eich di bonim kennen the Griechen the Meile fun means werden Avdiyah, that even the children could also reach a level of becoming Avdiyah, because the Torah is connected to the children. The Yidden, that's the Torah. But since in the Torah we have the Avdiyah, means even the Yid, which is normally limited to Torah and there's nothing higher than that, could reach a madrege of Avdi Ovis. That's a special lesson bepeil that you take out from the Parsha of Eliezer. Especially for those that were merited, that they're involved in the shlichus of the Ovis. Every generation has people similar to the Ovis, which is our Rabbeim. In the Raveda from Achzokas Hayadus Arbotz Torah, they're shluchim from the Rabbeim in the Aveda of strengthening Yiddishkeit and spreading Torah, Kela Yefutzim and Esech, including spreading Chassidus. So this is a lesson for them, because we're using a lesson for Yidden to be like the Avdei Ovis. So he says like this: something that the shlichus is you have to do. But negated it so is for seine Plulas, but when the results of what you do, seine Zeklal mit kan balabos. And that negated these things, he's not a balabos. It's not up to him. The shlich asked was that sein gegeben to the shlichus bechol keich. Shlich agrees that he has to be given over to the shlichus with his whole might. Wie is rotnik im nuchas hanefesh? He has no rest. Not not him, not his family. Sein Diktorat kolayim b'mil shlichus is involved all day in fulfilling the shlichus. But if them zweiten, if but concerning the other person who is trying to influence, is a nitken balabos. He could tell me, I'm not balabos. Yeah, and there is a balbchira. That person has choice. You can't force him to do against what he claims that he wants. So you could try your best, and I did everything possible, and that's it. Dem kommt dann die Reue von Parsha Eliezer. We come with the lesson of Parsha Eliezer. Aber Shas bestellt sich herein in der Matze von Avdi Ovis. If you become in a level of Avdi Ovis, which means, as we said before, a bittul mekel bekel, you completely bottle to Hashem, wie an Eved ladeni, like an Eved slave to his master. And the two is my mispala kadosh baruch v'atzlach mamil shluchusay. And you daven today b'shter that you should be successful in shlichus. In a muftach, you could be guaranteed. As Hashem yishlach malach lefanecha, you will be successful. In other words, it's even, you're saying, sometimes I'm not, but it's not my fault. If you really bottle, it'll never happen. You are guaranteed that that person will agree and fall under your influence. The Rebbe will guarantee that you'll have success in your shlichus, will measure the ganze shlichus. And just like over here, when was the atzlocha? When was it lefanecha? From the beginning to the end, as the Rebbe explained the details. Sai ba'ali chosei, say when he goes to the shlichus, say b'mokem ha-shlichus guf, and then also in the things he does at the shlichus, say umken exik mokem ha-shlichus ha-prata mesoyim hazeh. And when you come back from the shlichus, it doesn't mean come back, you finish your shlichus. It means when you're doing a certain part of your shlichus, and when you finish with that part, you will have atzlocha. Like we did before, from beginning to the middle to the end, it was atzlocha. And what will happen, just like we're here, Brahmavini said, there was a malach ahead of you. Well, what will happen? The kachtel isha, and you'll find this woman that will take. So we see beruchnis also. The kachtel isha means so Knesset Yisrael, that the Yidden. That's called the wife of the Eibishter. And you will bring her back to whom? Just like we're there to bring the girl to the chosen. Here also you will bring the Yidden, which are the kala, which are the wife. You bring her back to the husband, which is the Eibishter. Durch mehr sei noch a Yidden, und noch a Yidden, lahire, bis zu machen von den Yidden an der Lehoyer, a shlich from the Bina Shebashmayim, by being made another Yid, and make him shine, till you make him a candle that makes other people shine also, and he will also become a shliach of our Father in heaven. See that sagt in the Rambam Paskins says, "Afak piderin abchires on ikir godel no amuda teiro mitzvah." The Rambam uses a lotion that the concept that the Yid has free choice is a major point in Yiddishkeit, and it's a fundamental, it's a pillar in Torah and mitzvahs. Nevertheless, the Rambam writes, "Kvar ifticha Torah, the Eibishter promised." At the end of the Golas, Yidden will do tshuva, and then they'll go out of Golas. So here we hear something similar. The Rambam himself that there's bchira and there's no choice. And how does he say? But the Eibishter promised that everyone will do tshuva. How could you promise everyone will do tshuva? Everyone has free choice. So here we see a remes to this thing that, like we said before, this is a madregit that even though there's bchira, the Eibishter makes it so that it should happen. So you see that in the Rambam that if you're makarev Yidden, and what will happen then? And you work hard, you will be made at the Yidden, and the Eibishter promised that even though there is bchira, but he still promised that Yidden, the sof of the Golas, they will do tshuva, and miyat hein Golan, they will go out from Golas right away.